Basically, you save fighting games by giving everyone huge boobs. This will save the FGC. People expect to be rewarded for flailing. Fighting games are the most instant gratification genre out there. Well, I found this article on fighting game product design, as it says at the top of the screen. Everyone's already read this. I'm just a hack with no original ideas, so I thought that I would also react to it and tell you guys what I think. Let's have a dialogue. Now, I've been quite critical of basically every modern fighting game as a product, whether it's a free-to-play model or not. So we'll see if I agree with this, and let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know. So, fighting games in 2026 are floundering, with everything not called Street Fighter 6 relegated to the trash bin of history. The worst and most likely outcome of this is that the other studios will look at this and think Street Fighter 6 is the destiny of the genre and will try to mimic its game design to regain some relevance. I don't know about that necessarily, at least so far. In the games that have come out since Street Fighter 6, they haven't taken that many design cues from SF6 mechanics. Obviously, Garo is simple and beginner friendly, but I would say that trend started more so with you would say Strive, or you would say Grand Blue, as I don't think Street Fighter 6 does anything super unique to warrant how popular it is. So I wonder what they mean by mimic its game design here. Not release updates, is that the mimicry? You release a fighting game and you don't update it at all. Fighting games are currently reaching roughly 1 out of 10 of their potential audience. Changing the core game mechanics will have almost no effect on the genre reaching this potential, and there are multiple dimensions the genre can and must evolve along in order to reach this audience. I think that this is a very interesting point to me. I don't know about the 1/10. This kind of feels like an ass pull. I don't know what we're basing this on, but I do agree that I think most of the reasons to why people don't play fighting games doesn't have anything to do with them liking or not liking Dry Rush, or them liking and not liking Heat, or them liking or not liking whatever freaking Roman cancel, you know? Maybe controversially, I also don't think simple inputs make a difference. I don't think they make that much of a difference, genuinely. That being said, I do think Modern helped Street Fighter 6 become popular in the specific way that it did, because the way Street Fighter 6 became popular was that a lot of streamers in Japan just sort of happened to pick it up, and I think there being modern controls made that experience more pleasant for them, and because so many streamers had a good time with it, I think that's what led to it sort of picking up steam in the general audience. So I do think Modern was actually a big part of why SF6 was popular, or why SF6 became as popular as it did, but I also don't think it's necessary, if that makes sense. By the turn of the millennium, the competition from PCs and home console had ramped into full gear. Basically, they're saying here that after fighting games became popular, other games became better. I really do think that back in the 90s, Street Fighter 2 was the best game you could play, and your alternative was booting up Street Fighter 2 or booting up Rocky and Bullwinkle on the NES, you know? I think the problem is that Street Fighter 6 is not that much different from Street Fighter 2, but nowadays instead of slopware on the NES, you're competing with Elden Ring. I think fighting games haven't evolved or gotten better in the same way that other genres have. Yeah, many fighting games from this period are considered by fans of the genre as some of the best of all time. Yeah. A lot of these didn't do that well though. They focused more on honing in mechanics for people who already like fighting games rather than innovating on what a fighting game could be. So the difference between Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 2, the mechanics are very different. So to a fighting game player, you notice that there's a big change there. But if you're not a fighting game fan, they're kind of just more or less the same thing. It took upstarts in the genre with lesser known IPs like Skullgirls and KI to even attempt to make the genre playable online 10 years after the rest of the industry was all in online gaming. I agree with the sentiment, but it's not true. GGPO happened in 2008? Or something. It was pre-Skullgirls, pre-KI, that you could play Street Fighter 2 online with a rollback as a TGPO, but it wasn't built into an actual product. I think it would have been nice to notice it here, considering that that's kind of a big deal. I understand what they're going for. It wasn't really integrated into an actual product until Skullgirls and KI. Mortal Kombat 10, Dragon Ball FighterZ and Mortal Kombat 11 succeeded by sticking with the console era strategy of filling them with content outside of the versus mode, having some of the best in the genre to date. What content does DBFC have? It's been a long time since I played DBFC. What does DBFC have outside of a slightly spec'd up arcade mode? DBFC was popular because it was pretty and one of the most famous IPs ever. I don't think DBFC was popular because the single player content was good. Mortal Kombat, sure, but I feel for DBFC it's mainly about the fact that it was a very pretty game with the Dragon Ball IP. Tekken 7 was also carried by its superior gameplay. I don't think that that's true. I think Tekken 7 had pretty good single player. Games such as Guilty Gear Xrd and Soul Calibur 6 have the best gameplay those series have to offer. Soul Calibur 6? Really? I don't remember this stuff super well. I'm not accusing the author of like revisionism. People did not like Soul Calibur 6 gameplay, right? The reason why Soul Calibur 6 died was because it had bad netcode and came out at a really bad time. I don't think Soul Calibur 6 has some of the best gameplay in the series. I think most people don't like Soul Calibur 6 gameplay. Many in the FGC are cynical about the broader gaming market or people in general. No team, no excuses, so fighting games can never be popular like team games are. Some of you guys are saying this. I've seen you guys say this. People are brain-rotted and need instant gratification, so hard games can't keep. This to me is one of the funniest statements ever. Because fighting games are the most instant gratification genre out there. I can boot up Street Fighter 6, queue up ranked and play an entire set of SF6 in like 5 minutes. If I boot up League of Legends, I need to sit 3 minutes in queue, 2 minutes on the loading screen, 2 minutes in character select, 2 minutes on the loading screen, and then wait for 1 minute 34 minions to spawn. Fighting games are so much more instant gratification than like MOBAs. Even Overwatch. First you sit in queue, then it's map voting, then you pick your characters, then you wait for the attackers to take their, or the defenders to take their position. So chess is a 1v1 game with no RNG. It has only gotten more and more popular over time, primarily due to chess.com and League just making the game more accessible, improved product design. But I actually feel like chess is similar to SF6, right? Chess got popular around the pandemic because streamers played it. They held like a big streamer tournament. I feel like, and also the Netflix show, yeah? I don't think I agree with this, that the fact that why chess is really good is because of chess websites, or really popular because of chess websites. I don't think that that's true. I really do not think that that's true. I think the reason why chess is very popular right now is because of the Netflix show and the streamers playing it during the pandemic. I think those influenced it the most. Counter-Strike player counts have been going straight up for 12 years straight. I think the main thing that I hear Counter-Strike players talk about is the fact that their game is dying because everyone plays Valo. This is like the thing I hear specifically. Everyone who plays Counter-Strike, they just say like, my game is dying because every new player goes to Valorant. I don't think Counter-Strike player counts are going up. I don't know if it changed post Counter-Strike 2, but pre-Counter-Strike 2 post Valo, I think stuff was looking grim for CS for a bit. Deadlock is a freak of nature. I don't know why Deadlock is as popular. I play Deadlock and I don't understand why it's popular. There's nothing for Go on the level of chess.com or League Chess. Okay, but no. I think that's because no one cares about the Go. There's no Netflix show about Go. There's no streamers are playing Go. There's no like Go specific YouTuber with 5 million subscribers. Because like, what about Shogi? Shogi has one of these. There's Lee Shogi exists, but nobody plays Shogi because no one cares about Shogi, because Shogi doesn't have a cultural relevance like that. Okay, well, but now we get to the interesting part. What are fighting games lacking as products? Crossplay and the cheat netcode? Again, I don't think the reason why fighting game beginners bounce off of fighting games is because there's no crossplay. That being said, fighting games desperately need anti-cheat. I think 2Go is like the only fighting game that is actually good anti-cheat. And that's because they put the Riot worm on your PC. What is exactly the point of fighting games? Why should I play this game instead of all of the other games out there? I think it's because people like being a guy. Fighting games give you the sense of having a character and improving with said character, and you really, I think, get to self-insert in the same way that you don't in a MOBA or like a hero shooter. A lot of shooters don't even have characters. Counter-Strike has one character, everyone is a dude with a gun. But even a game like League or Overwatch, you will get like one-dimensional matchups, you might get your character banned, you might need to play a different role. But in a fighting game, you can ape your one character perma if you want to. You know, I played 500 hours of Street Fighter 5 with only Cammy. I played 300 hours of Street Fighter 6 with only Cammy. So I think that to me is the strength of a fighting game. Is the fact that you really get to be your character. Yeah, see, I think this is one of the worst things ever. Combo Fiend saying that characters are just functions and people are happy to play Captain Marvel if she moves the same as Magneto is so insane. That's like, we still laugh about that a decade later, and for good reason. The reason why I play Mai in every game isn't because I like her function. Do you guys think the reason why my mains in fighting games consist of Crimson Viper, Chun-Li, Mai and Cammy, and Morgan, and Narmaya, and Ivy? Do you think I play these characters specifically because of the function? Let me tell you, when I was 13 and I booted up King of Fighters 02, I didn't pick Angel because I thought Unchained Circle was cool. That part came later. I picked Angel first, and after I had picked Angel, I thought, wow, Unchained Circle is really cool. You play them because they have this. Exactly. See, now we're getting somewhere. We're getting there. Basically, you save fighting games by giving everyone huge boobs. This will save the FGC. And I think actually for this reason, I think Street Fighter 6's World Tour is a baffling design. I don't want to play John Street Fighter and get trained by Chun-Li. I wanna be Chun-Li. Like, yeah, sure, it is cool to read books with Zangief and like levitate with Dhalsim, but that's not the draw, even in a single player context, because I think character action games do this really well. I don't care about the Monster Hunter, because I don't wanna be the Hunter, I don't wanna be John Hunter, but I care about Bayonetta, because I wanna play Bayonetta, I wanna be Bayonetta, I wanna experience the world as Bayonetta, and I do think that it's good for a fighting game to lean into those things more, and to give you more stuff to do. I think Street Fighter 6's the kudos system is a really good example. I wanna boot up and play Sea Viper because I get like fancy titles. This is why I also really like mastery systems. Marvel Rivals does this the best with the Lord portraits. Everyone wants the Lord icon, everyone now wants the animated Lord icon, because that's a signal to everyone around you that you are the character. You know that this is your goat. I wanna boot up and I wanna play Sue because everyone can see that I'm a Lord Sue. Everyone knows that I play Sue. It's more like Black Widow. She's not popular, so whenever people see my Lord Black Widow, they think like, she's kind of dedicating herself to like a lesser popular character. I think Street Fighter 6's kudos system with the banners is a good start, but it's not enough. We need more of this. We need more extrinsic motivations for people. Like, what if you got like putting something like 50 hours into Chun-Li, you got like a special Chun-Li costume? What if your portrait in the upper right corner on like the health bar changed to something and everyone would have to see it? It got like an animation or something. This is actually something that I really like about Tuco. Tuco does this quite well. You know, the only problem is that you have to pay for them. So it sort of doesn't actually do what I want it to do. But Tuco gives you emotes, they give you finishers, they give you like sound effects. I think fighting games need more of those that you need to grind. Just copy what Marvel Rivals is doing. Marvel Rivals does this really well. A story mode that cultivates an appreciation for the game's depth. Current story mode don't challenge you to learn the game's mechanics. Yes, this is correct. There is a disconnect with the way people think about fighting game story modes. I think a lot of people expect the story mode to be button mashy, because for a lot of people, for 20 years, like I'm not talking FGC, for non-FGC people who buy fighting games, they mash the single player, they get like, 30 hours out of it and they're done. I think a lot of people get mad if they can't mash through the story mode and they think, wow, this is bullshit. When if you take a genre like Elden Ring, if you post footage of yourself mashing in Elden Ring and complaining that you can't beat the boss, you'll get eaten alive on the internet. But I think in fighting games, in non-fighting game circles, people expect to get to flail. People expect to be rewarded for flailing. So I really think they need to do something to like change people's perception of what fighting games are about. Which actually how you do that, I don't know. But yes, fighting game current story modes do not teach you how to play fighting games. And I think this is the difference with something like Halo. Halo is popular because everyone played the single player, and I think playing the single player in a game like Halo probably teaches you something about positioning. It probably teaches you about like gun recoil. I think it generally teaches you the flow of how to shoot at enemies and how to not get shot. I think there's no real pipeline. Like once you're done playing the single player, I don't think that you feel like I should play PvP now. I think Street Fighter 6 World Tour tries this when Luke at the end tells you that now go out there, can go kill everyone. But the World Tour doesn't teach you to play Street Fighter. World Tour is like a shitty beat 'em up and a shitty RPG. There's like the parry minigame that kinda teaches you to parry. There's like the motion input minigame that kinda teaches you motions. You need more of that and you need less of like shit beat 'em up and shit RPG. As why would you play the shit RPG when you could play like Yakuza? The current fighting game conceptual space is kind of just mash without learning the game systems, and also this is a worse version of an already existing genre. Fighting game single players need to come up with something actually unique for fighting game single player that would get people on the board, you know? You need the single player to stand on its own. You need it to not just be a pre-existing version of a game that already exists that isn't a fighting game, and you need to make it give you like a solid through line to go from story mode to PvP. That's hard. I don't know what you would do, but you do need to do that. I really do think you need to do that. Second single player mode dress up. I think dress up is and character customization is an overall positive, although I dislike it. I think the game should have a lot of skins. I think every character should have 67 skins. Free character customization. It sort of hurts the game's visual identity. I think Tekken is the worst with this. Also Soul Calibur. And I really do think you should have infinite options to give your Kazuya cool outfits, but I don't want you to play the green Kazuya with a traffic cone on his head, you know. Having good customization is probably an upside for the genre. I do agree with this generally, even if I'm willing to concede on that. You need fighting games to not just be a bundle of mechanics, not just be a function. You need the product of a fighting game to be interesting and have a good value proposition. Well, what do you think fighting games should do? Do you think we should do more cosmetics? Do you think we should sell less cosmetics? Should we do Street Fighter 7? And should it have no patches ever and it should cost $70 and there should be Throw Loop 2.0? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and I'll see you next time. Matsukure!